Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So it's been almost a year since I've posted. One of my New Year's goals this year was to do better with my posting, which I was prepping to do this video during that time, and we've had a lot of issues. I couldn't get the angles right, I couldn't get the lighting right. I'm still playing with the lighting, but you know, hey, it is what it is. So we're going to start getting into book reviews on this channel because really books are a huge part of my life. If I'm not at work or I'm not spending time with my son, that's really what I'm doing, is I'm reading books. So the tens of books I tend to read are romance novels. For a long time I didn't do these reviews simply because I thought most people weren't interested in doing reviews for romance novels. And then I'm looking around on YouTube, I found quite a few ladies like Jess from Peace Love Books and Chandler Ainsley who are very into romance novels, and so I figured if there's people out there interested, I may as well do some. I've come across a few series that I have not seen any reviews on at all, so I figure I'll start with some of those and see how it goes. And if you like the novels that I do reviews on, then I hope you go out and read them and see if they're for you or not. So that being said, let's move on with the first review. So we're going to be reviewing Incandescent by River Savage. Let me see if there we go. This is an MC romance. This is the Knights Rebel MC series. Now, I love the covers on these books because, as you can see, it's all black and white with really good shading, and the way they do the lighting's really nice. And then the author's name is in color at the very bottom, and then each novel has a different color. So that's kind of fun. So this is the very first one. And it's the story of Phoenix Knight, also known as Nick's Knight amongst his friends, and Kadence Turner. Now, these books, there is a little bit of a trigger warning with them. There do tend to be a lot of heavy subject matter in them. So in Incandescent, if you have issues with violence, if you have issues with a woman who has gone through a miscarriage due to being shot, and I'm not going to reveal the character obviously, strong language, explicit sexual scenes, this may not be the book for you. However, if you're okay with those, or those are subjects that don't tend to irritate you, then stay around for the rest of the review. So the very first chapter, you kind of get hit in the feels, and it's like that with pretty much all of the books. It opens up to Kadence waking up in the middle of the night to her house being on fire. She looks all over. She cannot find her fiance of the time, Zane. He seems to not be there, and she's heard motorcycles in the background as she woke up. In fact, it's the noise that woke her up. And she goes to try and get out of the house, and she can't. And the last thing that you see in that scene is her screaming in pain. And then it cuts to modern day, because this was a few years ago, as it turns out. And she is waiting in a classroom because she's a teacher. And she's waiting in the classroom for one of her students' parents to get there, because this student, his name is Zayden, got in trouble for punching another student. So he's there, the other child is there, the other parents are there, but this child's parents are not there. And in walks Nick's Knight, who is the president of the Knights Rebels motorcycle club. Now, understandably, Kadence does not have a huge affection for motorcycle gangs, or motorcycle clubs, sorry, because as it turns out, the people who set fire to her home were members of another motorcycle club, and they do come in later. She has a bit of a disliking for him because he comes in his riding boots, jeans, his cut. A cut, for those of you who don't know, is the leather garment that motorcycle club members wear to signify the club that they're in. Some come in a leather vest, some come in a full-on leather jacket. I think it has to do with probably the weather and maybe personal taste of the person wearing it. And she sees that he is the president of the motorcycle club because it's on the patch on his cut. But as much as she's irritated with him and she's annoyed that he's late, she also has an attraction to him. He's a little bit older than her. He's like in his mid to late 40s, I believe, and she's in her mid 20s. But there's an attraction between the two of them, and they snark at each other a little bit off and on throughout the first scene. And after going through the whole issue about Zayden punching another student and all this, there is a scene where she's exiting the school and she sees Nyx with his son Zayden, and it was described as like a very tender, sweet moment, and it kind of made her soften towards him a little bit. And they didn't think they'd ever see each other again until they did see each other again at a town event, which I found it funny. They thought they'd never see each other again. It's just, from the depictions, it's a small town that they live in. So, but when they do see each other again, Nyx basically decides that he's going to pursue Kadence because he wants to add her to the notch on his bedpost, I guess, for lack of a better term. He basically just wants to get her in bed because she is something of, what's the word? I can't think of the word. A bit of a, hard to get. We'll go with that. She's hard to get. She snarks at him. He has this very arrogant, snarky way of flirting with her. He's kind of playful, but he's also very much like, I know I've got it going on. You know you want me. Let's just go. And she's like, yeah, no. Just no. And then there's also the added fact that he is actually a student's parent, so that's a problem because teacher-parent intermingling, probably not the best thing, right? So there's that. And then eventually he does succeed in getting her to agree to go on a date, and she basically informed him this is a one-time thing, we're not going anywhere after this. And he's like, that's fine, once I've had my fill of you, we'll be good. And then of course they weren't, because she left the next day and he got irritated. Long story short, they end up in a relationship. Go figure. Funny how that works in a romance novel, right? So throughout the rest of the book, it's her not wanting to cross too many lines. Like, she doesn't want to come clean to his son Zayden about what's going on because she's his teacher and she doesn't want to make him feel weird. And them figuring out how to work the relationship thing, because he hasn't been in a relationship since his ex-wife, and she hasn't really been in a relationship since her ex-fiance, and she doesn't really know how to do the whole girlfriend of a motorcycle president. It's kind of uncharted territory for both of them in many ways. Now, some side storylines that occur is that there's ongoing issues with Nyx and his ex-wife Addison, primarily about their son Zayden, but also the fact that Addison wants Nyx back. Cadence's ex-fiance Zane returns to the picture, and you find out he's a much worse character than you originally were led to believe, which is pretty bad since he left his fiance in the house to burn to death. And there's issues with the rival MC, which was referenced at the beginning of the book. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And then there's also the fact that it's setting up for the entirety of the series. So there's a lot going on. You're meeting a lot of characters that are going to play a part in other books. And of course, setting things up for future stories. But overall, I think it was very well done. I'm going to keep the character analysis down to the two main characters and Zayden. Kadence is a strong woman. I think she has to be after going through what she went through. She survived the burning of her house. She had to undergo skin graft surgeries. She had to go through from what I understand, she had to go through the skin graft surgeries like at least twice because the first one didn't heal right. She had to get through the depression of what happened. She had to get through the depression of the fact that her fiance left her to die and took all of their money, all of her money. She has a very strong moral code, which is why she is so hung up on the idea of I can't date a student's parent, which she obviously does get over eventually. And she is able to be feminine, but at the same time she is very, very strong-willed, and she's not very easy to bend to what Nyx wants all the time. At some point in the story, I'm not going to say when, but they got into a little bit of a verbal sparring match, and it ended with him getting kneed in the groin. So I definitely had a strong liking for Kadence. She's not my favorite female figure in the story, or in the series more accurately, but she is a really good one. Like, she's definitely a character you could see yourself being friends with, having in your life, and just all that. As for Nyx, Nyx is an experienced person. He's, again, late 30s, early 40s. He's a father. He's been married and divorced. He's seen a lot of things in his life. There's a lot of backstory about the MC. His father started the MC. He ended up having to take over the MC from his father when his father started taking the MC down the wrong path, so to speak. So there's a lot going on there. He's a very devoted father. His son is like the center of his universe. And he will do anything in his power to make life right for his son, which is something that you do see play out later on after issues with his ex-wife Addison. So Nyx is a very loyal man to his friends, his family, and if he's in a relationship, he is a very devoted father. He is very arrogant and conceited, which is something that is very common amongst these alpha male characters. He doesn't take it to an uber extreme like you see in some stories. Like, you see some stories where the male just takes over the woman's life always, and it's like, get over yourself, right? He's like, I like the fact that you're feisty, I like the fact that you question me on stuff. But then the minute something happens where Kadence is going to be or could be in some sort of danger, he's like, yeah, get over here. That's when the alpha really takes over in him. The rest of the time, his alpha arrogance is just like playful and joking, which I have to say is kind of cute. And when she ended up kneeing him in the groin, he actually admitted, he's like, I kind of had it coming. And he was later able to laugh about it. He didn't get too upset about it. It was which, considering the area he got kneaded, that says a lot. So I very much liked him as a leading male. I think he is very much the kind of, when women say they like an alpha male, I kind of think that's the type of personality that they're talking about. A dude who's strong-willed, a dude who's kind of cocky and arrogant, but does cherish the person he's with, and openly enjoys the fact that the chick he's with has her own personality and is not just a mindless simp. But when the person he is with ends up being in danger, he's like, all right, we're taking care of it. So to my mind, when most women say they like alpha males, I think that's what they're referring to. I could be wrong. Let me know if you disagree in the comments down below. So, and then the other character, of course, is Zayden, who is Nyx's son. And he is such a sweet little boy. You find out the reason why he hit the student at the very beginning of the story was in defense of another child. You find out there's a lot of stuff going on between him and his mother that is kind of sad, and you really feel for him. He's just a lost little boy. He doesn't really know how to handle things, and when he finds out that his dad and his teacher Kadence are seeing each other, he is ecstatic, like to the point where he's asking his dad, well, if Miss Turner is going to be my mom, then do I do I still have to see my real mom? You know, can I call Kadence mom? Things like that. So he's very much a sweet little boy, and he does come into play in the next book that I'll be reviewing. That's just going to get tossed into this one because it's a novella. So that is Incandescent by River Savage. I hope you give the Knights Rebels MC series a try. I think you'll really enjoy it once you read it, provided you like MC romances or romances in general. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and do the second review simply because it is a novella and it ties into the first one, and that is Reclaimed by River Savage, and that one's in red. And it's basically just the continuation of Nyx and Kadence's story. It starts off with them on their honeymoon and Kadence telling Nyx that she is pregnant. I don't know why I said it that way because I'm just a weirdy head. Sorry. And then from there it's kind of jumps forward to after the baby's been born, and Kadence has a pretty strong postpartum depression. She starts lashing out at Nyx. She doesn't want to bond with the baby. Poor Xaden, man, he ends up having to take care of his little sister so much as a newborn. Nyx doesn't know what to do. He wants his wife back, but he doesn't know what to do about it, so he ends up spending all of his free time at the clubhouse instead of at home. And basically it ends up with him taking some of his friends' erectile dysfunction medication on Valentine's Day. He basically tries to wine and dine his wife. On Valentine's Day, everything goes wrong. They go back to the clubhouse because nobody is there. And he proceeds to take said erectile dysfunction medication. And then they have to go to the hospital because he can't get it to go down. So it's a pretty fun story. It's just cute. If postpartum depression is something that you have suffered from after childbirth or something that kind of weirds you out, then maybe stay away from it. Other than that, there's really not too much in there that I remember. That was too bad. I didn't reread that one. I reread pretty much all of the main stories. I didn't reread the little novellas because you don't need them in your life if you don't want to. So that was Incandescent and Reclaimed by River Savage. I'm going to try and space these reviews apart by about a week. That way, if you end up deciding you want to read the books, you have a chance to read them before the next review. And then also, I'm going to say go ahead and, if you're planning to read the books, read Incandescent before you watch the review for Affliction. The characters in the two books are very, very intertwined, more so than some of the other stories, so there's going to be a lot of spoilers for Affliction, or sorry, a lot of spoilers for Incandescent from Affliction if you haven't read it yet. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you go out and get these books. I find them to be really, really good, and I'm kind of sad that nobody else has talked about them yet. And I'll see you for the next review. Bye-bye.